first thing we want to do is click on our Form 462 Excel tool. We're going to open it with Microsoft Office Excel. And up pops the first page. You can see that this is a workbook that contains a number of worksheets, okay? So the first worksheet that's in this workbook contains instructions. We can see that these light blue cells are cells where the user must enter data, okay? The light orange shaded cells are those cells where we may have to enter data, we may not. The dark blue are cells that are auto-calculated, and we cannot enter data in those dark blue cells. All right, on our data checks worksheet, we have a number of the data checks that we're all used to having to pass. It used to be in the auto-edit program of the old application. Now it's on a data checks worksheet that also includes a number of the manual checks that EEOC used to have to do. So rather than passing the auto edit and then having EEOC come back at you and say, no, you need to fix this too, hopefully we've got the edits all compiled into this tool for you this year. Anyway, any of the data checks that are in a fail state, you will have to correct the data, make modifications, add a comment, whatever, to bring to a pass state so that you can then use the generate XML macro. Now, speaking of macros, you can see that the second worksheet in this tool is called Enabling Macros, and it is a quick guide on how to make sure that the macros are enabled. You will have to have the macros in this tool enabled in order to properly submit the Form 462 report this year. Now, if you're a Microsoft Excel 2007 user, you're probably going to see this security warning up here that says macros have been disabled. If you do, this is great, because all you have to do is click on this options button, come down here and click enable this content, and then click OK. And you are now good to go. Be sure that you enable your macros every time you open the workbook. So if you just put in a couple pages of data, you save the file, you go home, you come back the next day to continue. When you open this file, be sure that you enable the macros, okay? All right, so now we're going to the next worksheet, and we see it's a profile. And this is where we need to type in our 4-digit or our 4-character agency code that we got off of the agency list in the guidance page, okay? That's all we have to put in here. And then we go to page 1. Here is the Form 462 we're all used to seeing after the fact, okay? Once we had all the data put in our the old application, we could generate one of these. In this case, you're going to actually put the data right into the pages, so hopefully you'll find this a whole lot easier. Now remember, I said the dark blue cells are auto-calculated. If you hover your cursor over the dark blue cell, you'll see that up pops the actual calculations that are being made by that particular cell. So if I put a 1 in here, and I put a 1 in here, you can see I've gone to 2 because I'm getting C1, C2, C3, and C4. Okay? Here are the pinks, what we used to call user defined. So if I have some other additional monetary benefit I'm awarding, I can just type that in right here and report the number of counselings, the number of individuals, and the amount. Okay, so that's page 1. We go to page 2, we find our formal complaints. Here's our agency resources we're used to doing. Here's the training. You'll notice that up here in the top where our bases are listed, on part 1, page 3, part 1, we're only seeing the bases of race, color, religion, and reprisal. And if we could look at page 3, part 2, we find the rest of our bases that are covered, okay? Sex, pregnancy, national origin, etc. Now, on part 1, you may have noticed that all of the last 3 columns are dark blue, which means, well, how am I supposed to, I know I'm supposed to enter total all complaints by issue and total all complainants by issue, but how in the world am I supposed to do that? It's dark blue. Well, we've made it really easy this year because, remember, it's the total for all the complaints on this particular issue under all of the bases. So you only have to go to part 2 and add that number. All right, and you add the number of complainants. And then if you go back, you can see we've programmed the Excel spreadsheet to automatically fill in the part 1 page for you. All right, so we're moving on. We get page 4, page 5. All this is familiar territory. Remember, you're going to fill in all of the light blue cells. Now, one of the things that I kind of forgot to mention over here on part 4, on this Excel tool, there is a populate with defaults, which is going to put zeros in all of the blank cells that you have. However, unlike the old application where it was on each screen that you filled out, in the Excel tool, it's on the last page. So you want to make sure you get all of your data entered before you use the populate with defaults macro. But keep in mind, you don't have to type in all the zeros, okay? And that goes for all the pages. So you want to put in all your data first, and then we get over here to what we call the data checks tab. Notice we have 3 light blue cells here on the data check tab. What do we need to put in there? Well, if we scroll over here, we can see that what we want to do is compare the on hand at the beginning of the reporting period in this year's part 1 to line D4 in last year's report, okay, or the previous year's report. So what you're going to do is look up last year's report, get the number that's in line D4 of part 1, come back over here in this light blue cell and enter that number, okay?